This possible. Brothers and sisters, good evening. As promised, we start exactly at 8. Welcome to this webinar. Apart from Zoom, we are streaming this live on YouTube. So I shall post the link in the chat box right away. So you can share that with your friends in case they don't want to join Zoom, they want to watch the proceedings live on YouTube. They're welcome to do so. The last few months have been extremely challenging. I'm putting it mildly, extremely challenging. Some of us have lost jobs. Many of us are very stressed due to the uncertainties around. And that's why we decided to organize the session. The objective is simple, to soothe people's minds, to give them hope, and suggest positive things that they could do to make the situation better. Let me introduce my fellow panelists who are experts in the HR domain and amazing souls who are ready to use the time and expertise to help those in need. Let me start with Agni Skafidas. She's had the opportunity to lead HR teams in operational and strategic roles and has served as Director, Total Rewards, before joining OLAM. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's OLAM as Managing Director. Agni holds a Master's in Business Studies from University College Dublin and is an executive coach accredited by the Association for Coaching in the UK. A very, very warm welcome, Agni.
Thank you very much, Sangeeth.
Pleasure. Anson, Jerrin Mathews is a dear friend and an accomplished people and organization development practitioner. He's an international trainer, a coach, visiting faculty and speaker, and he has amassed a lot of awards in his young age. He has been recognized as at the international level as one of the top 25 game changers by the Workforce magazine based in the US, and also as HR's rising star by Middle East's largest HRX Summit and Expo. It's an honor to have you with us, and thanks a lot for joining us, Anson.
Thank you, Sangeeth. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. And Balram and I, we have known each other since 1997 as we were in college together. He's been in recruitment for over 20 years now, both on the corporate and the agency sides. Someone with loads of experience and a huge helping heart. So welcome on board, Balram. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And brothers and sisters, my name is Dr. Sangeeth Ibrahim, used to serve as the VP and Head of Learning and Development at Sharjah Islamic Bank, currently serving as the team leader of the Dubai Human Development Award, Government of Dubai, and serving as a consultant for Sharjah Capability Development, Government of Sharjah. I'm a teacher by heart, so I also teach at the University of West London, the Ras Al Khaimah branch campus. Most of us have gone through the challenging situation of job loss.
Yes.
We had around 240 registrations, only 35 odd have joined us till now. And almost 45% of those who registered said, yes, we have lost jobs and we're looking out. But I don't think adversity discriminates. All of us have faced challenging situations. It could be devastating. Personally, I remember lying on bed in a fetal position with no energy, feeling utterly hopeless. But that will not help. We have to get up and take positive action, for every single moment matters. And please don't fall for those extremely pessimistic views that tend to go around. I was reading the UBS survey that says that investors in this part of the world are very confident that the economy will start getting better in July. That's just a month away. And LinkedIn data, this was a report that I read just a couple of days back. LinkedIn data says that the UAE job market is on its way to recovery. So, we should start celebrating. Remote job postings in the UAE have increased by 2.56 times from mid-March levels. That's almost 3 times more. So every day we keep seeing posts about people changing jobs or getting promoted. So if you really feel down, take a look at the number of cars on the Sharjah Dubai road or the number of brightly lit commercial buildings around. There are opportunities, and there is an opportunity for us somewhere there. So please don't lose heart. Do the right things, be patient, and you'll get placed. It's just a question of time. And when I say right things, we need to have a strategy and we have to follow it religiously. Tonight, we'll share our insights with you. See what works for you. Tweak it if you want and do it your own way. But please keep trying different tactics till you crack this challenge. Now, as we start the formal session with our panelists, I shall be muting you all. Let me do that now. Once more. Feel free to unmute yourself if you are itching to share a point or ask a question, but we'll definitely have a formal question answer session towards the end. Let me add the URL for the site where you can list your questions. It's over there in your chat box. So you don't have to wait till the fag end of the session. At any time, if you have a question for any of the panelists, feel free to visit this link. There's a tiny red plus sign at the bottom right corner. Click that and you can post your question so all of us can view that, and we'll make sure that it's addressed. Okay, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start off, and we start with Agni. Once again, Agni, thank you for joining us. So I'm starting with the most basic question of all, and that is, I've been made redundant. I've lost my job. My world has turned around. It's turned topsy-turvy. Okay, I'm sad, I'm panicking, I'm worried. Where do I start? So would like to pose that question to you, Agni. Where do I start?
And it sounds like such a simple question, but yet it's probably an overwhelming moment, even when people are prepared to receive that notice because the company isn't doing well, the economy may not be in their favor, but to actually being told, we no longer need you, it's when a lot of self-doubt comes in. Why me? What do I do? I have responsibilities. What will my family think? There's so much coming in. And what you said earlier, Sangeeth, is very true that you may go through shock, you may go through grief. And I think it's very important to recognize that something has been lost, something has been taken from you, it wasn't your control. And to allow those feelings, those emotions. At the same time, it's important to find that energy again and to take action. And action can be on different levels. So what I always say, what's the most important question in this country? Because most of us are just guests out here. And while we love being here, we don't have a permanent residence here yet. So what's my visa status? Number one, can I keep my visa? Is my company going to keep me on the visa for an extended period, like it's possible at the moment under the ministerial resolutions? What are the options there? Because if you don't have a visa here, you're accruing overstay fines, and they can be a huge burden because they can go into hundreds of tens of thousands. And that's something that nobody who has just lost their job wants to pay. Plus it's illegal. So I'd like to say, don't do that. So figure out what are your visa options here. Secondly, you need somewhere to sleep. So accommodation. If you're in company accommodation, how much time do you have to stay in company accommodation? If you are staying outside of company provided accommodation, does anything change? Can you still stay there, or do you need to move potentially if your lease is coming up to its duration? Do you move to somewhere cheaper, somewhere smaller? Do you downsize? Thirdly, I come from a country where we have free health insurance. If you put part of your social contributions, if you're not employed here, will you still have your health insurance? And if you have children in this country, the fourth thing that you need to look after is the schooling. Once you have covered those four areas, you can then go into the next question. Do I want to stay here? Now, for a lot of us, the question, we've enjoyed our time here so far, that we've made this our home, we'd like to stay here. So then it's reaching out. What can I do to get a job? And Balram is going to talk about that later on in more details based on his experience. But it's getting your CV ready. So number one, getting your CV ready, reaching out to recruiters, looking at your profile on LinkedIn, for example, looking at not just your network, but also your family members. We all are interconnected. I mean, I know probably 7 people on this call that I probably wouldn't have thought about joining. So it's like, who's in my network who can potentially help me? Looking into, okay, if I'm ready to apply for a job, and we get to the application part as well, are there certain companies where I know they are hiring? They may not be posting it, but who are these companies that I'd like to work for? Who is the hiring manager? What kind of problems are they having? Can I help them with that? And then really addressing, what do I bring along? So having your self-awareness, what are your strengths? What are your achievements? And as you prepare your CV, you also write down your achievements. You no longer focus on just listing item by item, but really, what have you done? What have you achieved? Where have you made a difference? That's what companies want to hear. Where have you made a difference? And then looking to bring that in so that you know, okay, I've grieved. That was the first part. I lacked energy. I fell into this bottom curve. I'm slowly getting back up. And I'm now taking specific actions, looking for a job. The virtual labor market, for example, is probably a tool that has been underutilized out here from what I've heard. So really going to, where can I find a job? And it's not just on LinkedIn or on Facebook, but really reaching out to your community, to, if you're a member of a church, asking those members there. If you're part of a sports club, we have somebody on the line who's an actor. So going to use your network, because we all know somebody who knows somebody.
Sure. Thank you, Agni. What has come out from what you've said is, there are a lot of things to be done and not a moment to waste. So the moment the news hits you, I mean, you said it so well. For me, it was so tough to come back to my home and break the news to my loved ones, because, but at the end of the day, we don't have to feel sore about the organization, because there are only 2 things. One, a set of skills, and the amount an organization is ready to pay for those set of skills at a particular point of time. So the context is very important. So for me, I was able to reconcile that fact, and I said, yeah, if I had an opportunity, I would have jumped across, probably giving 1 month's notice. So, well, the organization did exactly what I did as well. But those things that Agni listed, what happens is from a psychological perspective, when you feel worried, your amygdala gets activated, because you're facing uncertainty, you feel that you've been a failure. And when your amygdala gets activated, your thinking brain congs off, your logical thinking brain congs off, your neocortex doesn't work anymore. So the problem is, it's very tough to get blood flowing back to the neocortex to say, these are the things I have to do, and to start doing it. And one of the things that I've seen, Agni, is a lot of people keep this a secret, that they've lost jobs. The problem is,
but why?
Yeah.
Why keep it a secret? I mean, at the moment, you can probably think of 10 friends who are going through this at the moment.
True.
And those 10 friends may have some other friends as well. So I'd say that there's nothing ashamed, or there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a natural process, like you said. If you had the opportunity to go somewhere else, you may have taken that as well. And it's nothing personal. It's just your name came up.
True. Steve Jobs was fired. I'm sorry.
Say it again.
Steve Jobs was fired from the company that he founded, Yeah, he was fired from Apple. So the problem, Agni, is if you don't mention this to anybody, you're depressed, your loved ones are depressed, and after 2 or 3 days, you stop going to LinkedIn, and you just lie on bed and you keep staring at the ceiling. So this is why you have to break the news out to your immediate contacts, to your weak contacts, because you never know where help would come from. So it's extremely important.
And that is very true. It's one of those stigma that we don't like to talk about because it may be deemed as failure. Well, it's just part of life. There is nothing wrong with it. And things will become better. They will get better. It's just a question as to when. And you said it like time is of the essence. What I've found worked very well when I worked with individuals who were made redundant or wanted a career change is to really have an action plan, that they write it down. You see it black and white, whether you then do like a little tick or however you do it, that you show yourself, I am making progress, whether I notice it or not, but the paper is showing me I'm making progress. And eventually you're tricking your brain to believe that, yes, I am, and you're getting your confidence back.
True.
And I think that's very important as well, that you feel comfortable, confident, and motivated again.
True. Thank you, Agni. Most of us are coaches in here, but sometimes we have to be reminded, you know. So in fact, Anson called me and said, Ibrahim, where's your plan? I said, I have the plan, it's in my mind. And he said, no, you have to put it up there. You have to see it. And every time you see it, your mind convinces yourself that don't worry, you're planning and you're doing everything. And that gives you a lot of confidence, self-efficacy kicks in. And every time you put that small tick, it's a quick win, so you start celebrating that subconsciously and you feel great. So definitely strategies that you can use. I've got a very relevant question to you, Agni, which is, today I was looking at a particular role that I'd applied for, and it said there are 7,932 applicants for that role. And that was just 2 days, okay? So this is what people say. I've been applying to every job opening that I see, but I don't hear back from them, or I see that there are thousands of people who have applied for the same role. So it's very tough for me to be positive. So what can I do about it?
And that's a tough one. So on the one hand side, you see something on LinkedIn 5 hours later, so you already have 400 applicants. Then you look, by the time you are ready to apply, it's 1,000, 2,000. And the question always is, how can a recruiter take the time to go through all those CVs? And it is demoralizing. Let's call it that. But I also think that's where individuals have an opportunity to stand out. If you're one of 7,000, yes, it's going to be tough to stand out. But rather than applying for every role, ask yourself the question, am I qualified for that role? Because the competition is fierce, and we have to recognize that as well, that there are hundreds of accountants, hundreds of HR folks, hundreds of IT people, and they can all do what you can do. So rather than sending the same CV to all of them, look into, okay, what is the company really looking for? Are these skills that they so much require, that are so much in need? Do I actually have them listed, or do I just have them in my head and I say, oh, of course I know that, I can do that. If it's not on your CV, how should a recruiter who has never met you know that you can do it? So tailor your CV. I think for every role, you need to tailor the CV and really highlight what's in the ad, how can you meet that? It's also, and we've probably all seen it, and it's understandable, but that people say, oh, but I can do it, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that and that. It's like, okay, if you can be a jack of all trades, and you go from, I'm going to apply for an HR role, I'm going to apply for a finance role, I'm going to apply for an accounting role. At some stage, your CV either looks very messy and the recruiter may not necessarily know what have you really done, where is your expertise? And you get into that same trap that you're not coming across as the candidate who's really meeting their needs. So find out what is their problem and address that also in the application. So if you know that a company is going through a transformation, which a lot of companies are at the moment, how can you help them? And put that in your application. So tailor your CV to the role. Be very clear in identifying what are the relevant skills that you bring along for that role. Highlight how you can help them with the problem that they are facing. Wonderful. And then, so that's just from a practical perspective to apply, but I also find having a grateful journal helpful. So a grateful journal is where you write down, let's say every evening before you go to bed, 3 things that you were grateful for during that day. So I could write, my mother is healthy. My mother is going to be 80 at the end of the year, so it's always iffy. My sister sent me a beautiful picture with a very blue sky today, and I've had a delicious lunch today. I made sagaloo, and for me, every time I can make it, it's awesome. So writing simple things down, and the more often you do that, it's again tricking your brain into being thankful for what you have now.
Definitely, thank you. Adding on to what Agni said, you know, when you start looking out for those small, tiny yet significant positive things that happen, because particularly when you're worried, we tend to filter out the positive. So this can really lift your mood, and you'll notice that day one it looks quite mechanical when you do that. But day 2 and day 3, you'll have more items in the list. So instead of 3, you might have 4 and 5, because your brain is being trained to look out for positive things. And when your mood is elevated, you definitely can do positive things more. Yeah. So you look out more, reach out to recruiters more, spend more time on LinkedIn as well. Yeah. Thank you, Agni. We'll come back to you. Since you mentioned the CV, I would like to go to this recruiter. A profile that we've all been chasing for some time. You know, sometimes I call them. Some of them could be snobbish because they get hundreds of calls, and I keep thinking, guys, you need to be a little more empathetic, because there's somebody on the other side who's desperately looking for opportunities. Yeah. So let's hear from the recruiter himself. So Balram, let me put you on spotlight. Anson showed me this trick just before the session, so I learned something new today. Yeah,
Yes.
Welcome on board, Balram.
Thank you.
The question is, 7,000 job seekers chasing one job, and it's just a CV coming to you. It could either go to the applicant tracking system, or if we are lucky, it might reach your hands. So how can you raise the value of a CV so that you look at my CV and say, wow, this is the man for the job? So what can I do for that?
Right. I think Agni pretty much covered most of my talking points. But see, what you need to understand is you need to look at it from the recruiter's point of view. What happens is most applicants approach it, which it's natural. They look at it from their side. That, you know, I'm great for this role, like Agni said, or I'm in need of a job, and you send it with a lot of passion. But basically, a recruiter is doing a professional's job. So he would not be emotional about your CV like you are. He would be looking for what he needs to find for the role he's supposed to fill, which is normally there in the job description. I mean, I'm going back to I'm repeating what Agni said, but it's important. So the idea is we would look as a recruiter, if I get, say I have 100 CVs, I would not waste my time looking at the formatting, the beauty of the CV. I would be going through to find out whether he ticks all the boxes. This is the first stage. Your first stage is, what normally happens is the application, whether through an ATS or direct, goes through a junior recruiter who does the screening. He or she will not be a decision maker. They'll just be screening out unwanted CVs. And this person will not be probably as adept at reading between the lines or picking out an exceptional candidate. So, so you have to make sure that you highlight. Are we okay? There seems to be a disturbance here. Okay.
No, I've muted everybody. Yeah.
All right. You know, we have to make sure that you convey your strong points, which mesh with what's required in the JD. In fact, I was even thinking in this current scenario, where we are flooded with, a company is flooded with resumes, we may even have to make an executive summary, maybe a small box instead of in the front of the CV, just highlighting where you mesh with the job requirements. Because then the person, what normally happens is, as soon as you see the candidate is suitable, if it's there in front, you would put it to a shortlist, and which will be visited later. So this is one suggestion I can make when you're applying for a profile for a role. Now the second thing is, there are a lot of people who are actively searching for profiles for roles. A lot of jobs are not advertised. So mainly because right now the same problem, you're flooded with CVs. I put a small ad for a junior HR profile, and I got around 800 profiles in 2 days. And I said, okay, these guys are desperate. I'll respond to each one of them one-on-one. And I spent a good part of a week talking to each one of them on LinkedIn and whatnot. But that's not an exercise I can do all the time. So what happens is most people don't advertise. Like, for example, I rarely advertise. I prefer, because companies come to me when they find profile, when they cannot find candidates. Those are typically hard to find. So I prefer to search and find individuals and reach out to them. So what you need to do is, I had a similar question from a friend now. He's an IT professional. He's got a junior who's about 5 years younger than him in terms of experience. That guy is getting all the calls, and this fellow is not getting for the same role, whereas this guy is more qualified. So, and he was asking me, should I get my CV rewritten by Naukri or LinkedIn? They've approached me. That's another point. Please don't get into this racket of getting your profile rewritten. It's mainly a paid service, which is quite expensive. And it doesn't add too much of value right now. Right now, I don't think you should be wasting money. So coming back to my point, you need to understand that searches are done on keywords. You use various methodologies like an X-ray search or a Boolean search, and we go by keywords. So you need to figure out what companies are looking for. It could be by the ads, or what I told my friend is, check your friend's profile on LinkedIn, where who's getting all the calls. I'm sure he's used keywords you have not. So, for example, what can I say? So if it's a structural designer for a construction firm, maybe I go for this particular software that they're using to design. It may be ETABS or whatever the company is using. So things like that, which would make a lot of difference, because first you need to show up on the radar when a recruiter is searching for you. So so these are the two things I'd say. And three, what you should do is network. See, everyone has a pretty strong network, but they just don't realize it. You can go, if the way to analyze it is, you can go to your school network, your college alumni, then you go to your various companies you worked in. Like Agni said, if you're a member of a social club or a sports club, and there's nothing wrong in reaching out. You never know who would help you. All you need is one job. You just need one opening where you click. And this is another way of getting in front of a crowd. Now, the 7,000 profiles coming in, there are no magic bullets. You have to get lucky, because I don't know if anyone would go through all of that, because they would probably go through where they get around 4 or 5 good profiles and present it to the management. That would be a typical junior level recruiter's attitude, because he has a job to do, she has a job to do, and that fills it. So it's a numbers game. Keep applying. Nothing wrong in applying. Don't lose hope because people are not calling you, because the market is crazy. And in close to 20 years of recruiting, I've never seen anything like this. And I've seen the 2008 depression. I've seen it. It's nothing like this company. I mean, it's unprecedented. So don't expect people to respond, but your job is to keep applying, because it's a numbers game. You apply enough number of times, you are bound to hit it. So, and like Agni said, please apply to jobs that you're suited for, because if you're applying to jobs that you're not suited for, one, you're not going to be selected anyway. And number two, you're messing up other people's chances. Because I think that is, out of the 7,000 profiles that you mentioned, maybe good 3,000 to 4,000 would not be anywhere near what is required. Whereas you may be the app person, but your profile lands in the bottom of the heap, and you're lucky if they see it. So that's my 2 bits. I hope I made sense.
Definitely. Interesting insights, Balram. So what you're saying is, companies come to you probably when they cannot find good CVs from other sources, right? Either internal referrals or,
True.
peers or colleagues. So I think we need to probably devote 80% of our time and attention in networking, rather than, of course, we need to spend time on LinkedIn. We need to reach out to recruiters, but then there's a clutter there. It's a very crowded space. So we have to really, really go out and try our contacts. There's no problem telling people that we've lost a job. As Agni said, it's perfectly normal. Yeah, it's perfectly normal. Today, I was reading an HBR article about the power of weak ties. So it's not your direct contacts who can help you. Again, it's people you've worked with, your ex-boss, your friends' friends. These are the people who can really help you out. And interesting information, I had a CV that ran into 7 pages. With photographs and tables, and later I understood again, and you emphasized on it in your talk. Boring a school when it comes to getting CVs to the recruiters. Look at keywords, look at the JD that is advertised, and what I can understand from what Agni said and what you said is, it's okay to have different versions of your CVs, right? Depending on the. So I started off with one version. I think I've got 11 versions right now because
Lovely.
for different roles, I've been changing it based on the keywords. I think, yeah.
Just another point in terms of networking. I don't know if you've heard of the theory of the 7 degrees of separation.
Oh yes, yes. I'm sure our crowd would love to hear that.
It's an amazingly powerful thing that I use when I try to reach out to get the right candidates. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've not read the book. I believe it says that with the 7 degrees of separation, that you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, and if you go down to 7, everyone knows everyone in the world.
Exactly. You know Trump.
We do. You know,
Yeah,
the Pope. You know Trump. If you really think enough, you'll find someone.
True,
Who knows them. So that's a very powerful tool in this particular situation where you can reach out. I mean, and I think people are helping out more than that's lovely to see nowadays.
True. Anson has written, you can use platforms like Canva or Resume Maker for creating good CVs. And Agni says, write your own CV. You can save your money. But guys, please don't fall for these scams. You'll get calls from recruiters saying that, or portals saying that, we're going to weave magic into your CV. You pay just a couple of thousands of dirhams. I had a call from someone who said, we know that you've applied for this particular post because that post matched my profile. We can make sure that you get an interview provided you pay 1,000 dirhams or something. So please don't fall for such scams. Just make sure that you reach out. Your contacts could definitely help you, and of course work on your CV and make sure that you apply for relevant jobs.
Another, if I may just come, another one where they charge money is something called your featured CV in Naukri. Which means your CV, your name is highlighted with a yellow highlighter, which doesn't mean anything to a recruiter. Just to make it clear.
True.
So don't waste money on that. That's it.
True. Very true. This is a dilemma, Balram. I found a profile that was very good. I mean, that's the way I thought about it. I said, man, the JD is my CV. But then when I called up the recruiter said, she was kind enough to pick up the call. She said, Dr. Ibrahim, you have got 13 years of experience and they're looking for somebody with 5 to 7 years experience. So we can't push it through. And I said, come on, why don't we just push it through? Maybe they'll accept it. Maybe they'll be impressed by my profile, but they refuse to push it through. So how do you handle situations like this?
See, it's like this. Like if I get a profile, I'm an external recruiter. You spoke to an internal recruiter or an external recruiter?
External recruiter.
Right. Yeah. I'm an agency. Okay. I am an agent. I'm working for a client. They gave me a JD. And the JD clearly states 5 to 7 years, and you are 13 years. It depends on my relationship with my client. Like if it's very early days, I will not present your CV because they'll think I don't know what I'm talking about. But I have clients where I can say, I've had a client who picked a CV. The CV did not say everything. I said, just interview this person. That she is right for you, and they hired her. But that depends on the leverage you have with a client. Now, it also depends at what level you're talking. If you're talking to a senior recruiter or someone at a slightly senior level within the company outside, they would have the ability to understand and probably present you to the management saying, this is someone who's more experienced, but he can add a lot of value. He's a long-term player. See, what is a problem for a company hiring someone senior at probably a slightly lesser price? What they think is, one, you're a flight risk, that you're coming in now because you are in a tough situation. And then when the market picks up, you would move on, and they would be left again, looking for people. So this is the number one reason. So if you so what you could do is, see, you cannot do anything. It depends finally on the recruiter and what sort of a equation he or she has with the client. Or if you're talking to someone inside the client, how senior or how strong the recruiter is, who can you can go across and tell the hiring manager, we think you should take a look at this person. So there's nothing you can do because you cannot hide your years of experience. I mean, if you have 13 years, you have 13 years. I mean, I've gone through this myself. Well, as I've been told I'm too senior and they couldn't hire me. Whereas the salary matched, the role was something I could do in my sleep. But I was told, no, we want someone. And also it could also be that there's a threat perception. If you're coming in too senior, the guy above you may feel threatened, which is reality.
Yeah, true.
Reality. So I don't think that's in your hands. All you can do is you can present a case that this is the reason I'm coming for a lower role, and I'm looking for a long-term stint. I'm not someone who jumps around. You can look at my track record. all you can do is present your case. How it's taken up is in the recruiter's hands. Unfortunately, there's nothing much you can do. Unless you know which company is hiring and you have your informal network, then you can probably put in at a level. Like, for example, if the what I've seen is if the say the CEO of the company sees a profile, he may grab it because he's thinking business. He's not looking about worried about a seat.
True.
So that is the problem. So if you can do that, that's the way around it.
Thank you, Balram. We'll come back to you. Yeah, thanks a lot for the valuable insights.
Thank you so much.
Let me go to Brother Anson, put him on spotlight. Anson, frankly speaking, you're the one who gave me the strategy. You know, you even said 3 months in the UAE and then look at Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and then even think about going back home. So you worked out a very nice strategy for me. In fact, I've been following that. And then you gave me a lot of clues on how to reach recruiters, when to reach them. You know, that was beautiful, and also how to reach stakeholders, decision makers in organizations. So we would love to hear that from you.
Perfect. So see, the thing is that like there was a research which I read a long time back. It says that for every 1,000 people in UAE, 15 people are actively looking for a job. And out of those 15 people, almost 7 are passive candidates and 7 are active candidates. So 15 people are looking for a job. And it also says that, you know, like almost 75% of the population in UAE are working, because, you know, it's an expat market and everybody has to have a job to stay in this country. So 25% of the people might not be working or not in an active occupation. So what exactly really stands you out is very important. Likewise, when we said, Sangeeth said that he has applied for a position where 7,000 plus people, what kind of strategy you have put through to reach out to the recruiter or to reach out to the job? Sangeeth, can we have the slides on?
Sure.
So we'll take you through some of the new age modern technique where we live in an era of 8 years or applicant tracking system, where there are smart recruiters like Balram who has installed small little chatbots inside or AI bots inside a system, which will map and, you know, find out who is the best one. So let's go and talk about how exactly you're going to strategize your entire job search methods. So first thing is that getting organized. You need to have a blended search approach wherein you will reach out to the candidate, reach out to the recruiters directly applying. Also, at the same time, you have to reach out to the consultants who is indirectly or directly representing you. So you should have always a similar type of blended approach, which will help you to, reach out to the right set of job posters. Second thing is that use this time to practice aptitude and psychometrics. There are plenty of websites which will help you to do free psychometric assessments. For example, K12 is one website which regularly use UK-based psychometric assessment. Then there is India BICS, which you can go and do psychometrics plus aptitude. Because most of the roles in UAE now demand aptitude as well as psychometrics. And most of the people who have been employed for a longer time are out of aptitude and psychometrics or something of that sort.
And Anson, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you explain the difference for the benefit of the attendees?
Yeah. So
what kind of questions? Yeah.
Aptitude test is something where actually it measures your logical reasoning, your verbal reasoning, and also your numerical reasoning. For example, tests like A is the father of B and C is the father of D, then who is E? Things like that. And similarly, you go to 1, 3, 5. What is the next number in the sequence? Those things are actually your aptitude measurements. Psychometrics is actually how you behave as a person in a team environment, number one. Number two is when you have to achieve deadlines, how you prioritize. Are you a person who will love to explore your ideas in a team environment, or are you a person who would like to work upon your idea alone? So things like this will be definitely useful for a recruiter because they took a cumulative evaluation. Number one is the direct interview with you. Then the second level, usually the psychometrics plus aptitude. Then they do a cumulative approach. They stack rank the people. If there are 5 candidates who was reached the final stage of interview, then out of 5, they will stack rank and find out who is the candidate A, who is the candidate B. And the candidate A will go for a final interview wherein they have the psychometric reports with them, as well as the result of the first interview. Then they will ask you questions like, Tell me about a situation where you have handled a project and you have terribly failed. How you have actually handled that situation. These all questions comes from your psychometric profile. So most of the people are not in touch with aptitude and psychometrics for a long time. And what happens is these tests are time tests. For example, if there is a numerical test, it talks about 1 plus 1 or 2 plus 2. It has got probably 15 minutes. And if we are out of touch, we won't be able to complete that many questions in 15 minutes. So it's very important that you do practice now itself. That's the first one. And how you keep a track of your work search, that's very important. So earlier people used to apply for a job. It's like, spray and pray. You keep on spraying everywhere and then you pray that somebody should call you back. And when since you have got 15, 16 versions of resume, you yourself will forget that which resume you have used to apply or which CV.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. So it's just a tough situation. So there are tools like Asana. Asana is a free tool. There is Slack. Slack is also a free tool. Then you got Monday.com. These are the tools to help you to identify or to help you to record what are the companies you reached out to. What are the consultants? Who are the consultants you have reached out? You can even put a date towards this when you have to follow up the consultant. Say, for example, you applied for a job to a consultant. 3 days is a timeline where you can actually go and follow up with them. So it will help you to remember, or it will help you to actually be informed about when you have to follow up. And this tool has got a great platform on mobile as well. So on the go, you can even check that how many jobs you've applied, how many you have to actually follow up, and what is the status of this. If you're getting an interview, when is the interview? All information you can actually have on track. Then you know how many jobs you have really applied for and how many you have got a call, all these things. It will help you to measure your progress. The tool name is Asana, and other one is Monday. You can use any of these tools. Then there are central search engines and there are specific job search sites. What are the central search engines? Those are Glassdoor and Indeed. The beauty of Glassdoor and Indeed is that these central search engines will go and search on behalf of yourself and get all the jobs in Middle East. It will pool to Glassdoor. So at one space, you can see everything. It's like you're going to for a shopping in Carrefour Market, or you're going to for a shopping in Spinneys or Lulu. It's like a hypermarket. Everything is there. Whether you want clothes, it's over there. Food is over there. Similarly, in Glassdoor, whether you want to search for a sales job, a sales representative, sales manager from different company, different industry, everything is over there. So you can, from there, you can actually directly apply for the company. So Glassdoor and Indeed are those platforms which will go and fetch those jobs posted by individual companies and consultants. Number 4 is Middle East specific job search sites. These are like Bait, Gulf Talent, LinkedIn, where employers go and post the jobs. That means if I am an employer, I will go and post the job over here and I will attract candidates. Unlike Glassdoor and Indeed, here somebody has to post the job. And you need to have a account over there to actually apply for these jobs. So these all tools will help you to, these are new age tools, will help you to inform, number 1, number 2, take decisions, number 3, to stay on track.
Using LinkedIn, Anson, what I've always done is when I see let's say X company has posted a particular job, I apply, and then I go and search for the company, and definitely I'll have 2 or 3 connections anyway. And then what I do is I take pains to connect with stakeholders of the organization. Okay, so I've been quite lucky, God's grace. So the head of HR gets connected, or the head of talent acquisition gets connected. And then I sneak, not immediately, wait for a couple of days. Meanwhile, I'll send them some links, establish rapport, and then get back to them saying that, I've applied for this role. So I've always had these stakeholders responding. So I think LinkedIn could be used extensively, right? It's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, that's rightly Sangeeth has reached. I know Sangeeth has pointed out. So once you apply the CV, once you apply to the job posting using a CV, don't stop it there. Now, what all you can do to reach out to the stakeholders or to the recruiter, do all these things. So there are smart recruiters like Balram who will never reveal their name, who has posted their job, like, and they will, they will use some dummy ID or dummy name, and they won't even reveal that who has posted that job. Say, for example, there is a job from Majid Al-Futtaim, and Anson Mathews is the job poster. You know the name of that person. So let's take first instance. What you can do is that there are new age tools like Rocket Reach or Hunter, where you can actually go and put the domain name. The system will bring you that email ID. Let's say, for example, here Balram is the like job poster. I'll go and put Balram Majid Al-Futtaim. It will bring me the email ID of Balram. And what you do, you should directly hit the inbox of the recruiter. And I'm sure that the recruiters are going to hate me for this. Yeah, so
it really works. It really works. Yeah, yeah.
But it really works. But also remember, when you reached out to the recruiter, very importantly, first scenario, you know the recruiter. Second scenario, you don't know the recruiter. If you don't know the recruiter, then you can go and search on LinkedIn, talent acquisition professional, Majid Al-Futtaim properties. It will tell you who is actually the talent acquisition professional for Majid Al-Futtaim. You look at the seniority of the person, pick up that guy, put his name over here, put the domain name of the company. It will bring you the email ID. So when you reach out to recruiter, always remember, don't reach out to during the day, lunchtime or during any time in the evening. Always send your mail in the morning, because when you send the mail in the morning, they will be able to see your mail first thing in the morning. It's very important of their timing. Number two, when you send that mail to that person, don't send blanket mails. What you have to do is that make it more customized. For example, let's say Agni has completed, let's say Agni is a recruiter and she is from Majid Al-Futtaim. She has completed 10 years. You have seen this in LinkedIn. So what you have to do, you have to actually write down, say, hey Agni, congratulations on completing 10 years. What a great achievement to be an HR professional and start or stuff like that.
Would you be impressed, Agni? Would you be impressed?
I have never received such an email, so it probably would be something that I would remember.
True.
Let me tell you, I have always impressed people like that.
True, definitely. I mean, it's very personalized, So I would respect the person because you've taken the pains to go and visit my page and do some research about me and then customize the message. That deserves some respect. So definitely, I'll remember the person. Yeah.
Very true. So just ensure that you are customizing that message specifically, and you make it personalized, and you send. And then when you write up the mail, when you write the cover-up letter, like congratulate them for the achievements, then slowly, mention about what exactly you are, and make it very brief. We use this terminology called KISS, keep it simple and sweet. So make it very, very specific and very brief with bullet points on your experience and what value you can add. And never end your mail by saying that I have attached my profile for user. Always end up the mail with an open question. That means, can we catch up over a cup of coffee over Zoom or a virtual team meeting? My calendar is free on this Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Let me know. So you are leading that end over there in the mail. So it's actually a positive psychology wherein you're keeping a hook over there. The person will definitely come back, and the chances are very high. So when you contact employers directly, don't spray and pray. Create a personalized cover letter. Map the JD to your CV. What JD you have, always map those keywords to your CV, and create templates for thank you letter or for rejections. Let's say if you got an interview, always remember, whenever the interview happens, every recruiter presents at least 3 candidates. What differentiate you? Once after that interview, post 3 days, please send a thank you letter. And you can always state things like this: after seeing your team and interacting with your team members, I'm really energized to work in such an environment. My experience always matched up with that. And put some more bullet points from what you liked about the company that reinforces your credibility. And also write up a letter for as a thank you note for your interview. That's the point I want to cover up. And also, when you write the mail, if you install a plugin called MailChimp, it works with Yahoo and email ID, you exactly know whether recruiter has opened your mail or not. Say, for example, when I applied a job to Coca-Cola, I installed this plugin in MailChimp. So when the Coca-Cola recruiter opened that my mail, exactly I got a notification that my mail was opened. Then I'm prepared for that call from the recruiter. By around at 3 o'clock, she or he has opened my mail more than 3 or 4 times. And my mail was forwarded also. I got all those notifications. I was ready with my CV to take the interview call. And I got a call in another 1 or 2 hours. So it helps a lot. MailChimp. MailChimp you can install in your Gmail or on your Yahoo. And where and how to network. Networking is the key. So you can network with consultants. How you network with consultants? There are multiple consultants over here in Dubai. And when you network with consultants, if you're from finance, reach out to that practice hiring specialist. Don't reach out to a normal consultant who specializes in everything. Say, for example, if you're reaching out to Inspire Selection or McKinsey Jones, reach out to their finance hiring specialist and make, send an invite. After sending an invite them for a cup of coffee or something, then slowly introduce who you are and what you're looking forward for. That is important. Number 2, LinkedIn groups. There are plenty of LinkedIn groups which actually, in your domain. Go over there and share what are your learnings. And also ensure that you are posting something on LinkedIn or on public platforms from your domain. You can actually share, even if you don't know what to write, you can share an article from HBR or something. Write some sentences, what you think about it. It actually pushes your visibility. And you can see what kind of jobs are existing in the market. If it is a job which is into finance digitization, and if you are a guy who was a finance business partner, you got the skill sets of digitization, then you can find out an article on digitization, share it on LinkedIn, and when you share it, add your thoughts on digitization. Ensure that you use hashtags like hashtag digitalization or digital economy, things like that. Those are trending hashtags. Then when they search for your profile, automatically your profile comes up on LinkedIn. So then actively hiring companies. You can easily know what are the companies that are into active hiring. For example, Amazon is active hiring now. All e-commerce companies, pharmaceutical companies, these companies are actively hiring. So ensure that you have got in contact or in touch with people who are working in that company. Reach out to TA specialists like Balram and in-house, talent acquisition specialists. Invite them for a cup of coffee. Whosoever your network, don't make a blanket introduction by saying that you're looking for a job. That turns off the person completely. So introduce yourself, slowly take them to the road. Things will work. And remember, if you're applying for a 10,000 dirhams worthiness of job, show that you're a 10,000 dirhams material. It's very important. The more you are into desperation, the chances of losing the job is more. Any questions?
Oh, whoa. Thank you, Anson. Thanks a lot. God bless you. We'll of course I'll be sharing the screen as well.
Just a point. Looks like I'll be drinking a lot of coffee over the next couple of weeks. Thanks to Mr. Anson.
Definitely. The problem is to reach you, Balram. It's a tough time.
He's given us the tools as well. So
to do that as well, yeah.
Yes,
to find your email address. Balram is going to probably post this YouTube, the live streaming video. So you can contact him and say, hey, Balram, congrats for running a show like that was pro bono and you did a great job. Yeah. and then invite him for coffee.
And I will tell you, Sangeeth, what Balram is going to do now. Balram is going to create a filter on his Outlook saying, wherever it mentions CV, please move it to another folder. So guys,
or coffee for that matter.
Yeah, never mention CV on your body or on a subject line. Write success profile, something of that sort.
True. Lovely. Thank you, Balram. Let me get back to Agni. I've got a slightly sensitive question. Agni, let's say somebody has got financial responsibilities, bills to pay, kids are studying at school, loans, okay, and suddenly the source of income dries up. You're not getting your salary anymore. So what job hunting resources are there to help me, when I'm facing such a tough situation?
And it's another elephant in the room that we don't talk about, and that's financial literacy in this country. It's great to see certain newspapers now publishing articles about how you should have an emergency fund. And it's like, well, it's after the fact. People at the moment can't build an emergency fund because they are trying to survive. So I do applaud at least the articles where it's more about how do I save money out here. And that's where I'd also say, do we need everything that we have at home? Do we need to have the hours and super duper football channels? And I'm sorry, I'm talking, or cricket channels, or whatever there is. Where can I save some money? And sometimes it may not be enough. And that's where I would recommend speaking to people. So for example, some of the schools out here, they said, we're giving you a discount for your kids' education, great, but you need to show us the bank details. And then it's like up to you to decide, do I want to disclose what my financial status is, or do I put it on my credit card? But you have to remember, the credit card also has to be paid off at some time. So it's speaking with your debtors, can I get a payment furlough that I don't have to pay for maybe 3 months? And then after the summer, when generally speaking, the job market always picks up, or at least before the pandemic, we always had seen that summers were slow and then it would start up. So that's also very encouraging to say, okay, for the next 3 months, you don't need to make any payments. You've seen in the newspapers that certain landlords have said, you don't need to pay rent for now. If all that fails, there are charities out here in the UAE. So you, for example, have the Red Crescent, Emirates Foundation, Dubai Foundation for Women and Children, Dar Al Bayer Society. And there are a ton more that are out there, but it's like with a recruiter, you have to keep calling them and say, okay, what can you give me? Because what Anson and Balram said, these are the tips of what you can do, what's in your control to find a job. And until you're looking for that job, whether it's on BAIT, whether it's on the virtual labor market, whether it's on Indeed, whether it's with a specialized recruiter, but you also need to manage your resources, your financial resources. And that's why I personally love, I don't have a car. I take the metro. And at the moment I hear quite a lot of radio ads, buy your pre-loved German sports car. And I'm thinking like, who spends money on a sports car now? So really ask yourself, do I need to have all the things that I'm spending money on? And if you have already minimized everything, which may be possible, reach out to the charities to ask for what else can I do, speak with your debtors to see, can I get a payment holiday and only start again in 3 months? And at some stage, the question also has to be asked, how long can I stay in the country?
True. Thank you, Agni. A couple of things, guys. I had a friend who lost his job in Feb, and though the company agreed to keep the visa till end of November, the insurance card for the person and the family members expired in April. Okay, so one of the things that we told him is, in this country, it's extremely expensive to pay for medical support. So you have to ensure that you have your insurance card up and running. I mean, of course, when you get a better job, definitely you can either cancel it or transfer it. And then what we realized is, for something as less as 1,800 dirhams per head, it's possible to get a basic insurance coverage. So it's extremely important to do that. And as Agni kept repeating, we'll have to make sure that our visa is available. You know, we don't want to we don't want to do anything illegal. So there are free zones available where you can actually have a visa facility for as less as maybe 10 to 11,000 dirhams. It is expensive, but it's definitely much better than going out of the market and then waiting for opportunities from there. It's extremely important to be in the market, because when you get a call, you should be able to immediately oblige and be there. Thank you, Agni. Thank you for that. One question to all the panelists here before we look at the page where the audience have been posting questions. I know this is not a very positive thing to say, but when should we say enough is enough? We have applied, we have not got jobs. Of course, we'll have to have grit, we'll have to keep trying. But there's a time where you take a very intelligent decision that's enough. Let me go back. Okay. So when would be a good time to do that? Can I start with Agni? Probably Agni could answer, and then I could shift to the other speakers.
Yeah. It depends on your family situation. So if you don't have children, it may be a different story, because don't want to disrupt your children's education. So for your kids' education, depending also on how much you have saved, you can say, I'm giving it until the end of August. Or if you have saved more money, then you could say, I'm going to give it until Christmas, because that's when the school break is. And that's then when it may be easier to transfer your children to outside the country, or whenever, depending on the curriculum, they would have the breaks. I would carefully look at what is my financial state so that I don't stay here until I'm down to 1 dirham. And then make the decision based on that. How much do I need per month to live on? Do I need 2,000 dirhams? Do I need 8,000 dirhams? Do I need 20,000 dirhams? How much money do I have in the bank? And then decide how long will my money last, and then calculate how long I can stay here.
Thank you, Agni. Can I spotlight Balram? What do you advise, Balram? How long, as Agni said, fix a budget, say that, I'm going to spend only 60,000 dirhams.
I'd like to throw a googly here. I think one aspect is we are all trained to look at only jobs as source of revenue. So what Agni said is very practical. It's probably the one way of looking at it. It's definitely an important way. Additionally, you should also keep an eye out. There may be part-time jobs you can pick up, which will keep this process going. Like I know, Sangeeth, I know how you sorted out your situation, sort of landed on your feet. Depending on your skill sets, you should keep your eye open. Because I say this because I've been an entrepreneur now for like 3 years. There have been very tough times. But one thing I realize is there's always opportunities. Maybe not in the direction of your profession, there may be something else. So that can add an extra 1,000 dirhams or a couple of 1,000 dirhams every month. Don't stick to only, okay, I'm a recruiter, I'll be recruiting. That is obviously the game plan, but there may be other avenues which will help you hang on a little longer. That being said, it's all a question of, like Agni said, how much money you have, when can you leave comfortably without putting yourself under duress for the rest, in the future, and what is your current situation. Maybe it could be a phased manner wherein your family moves back to the home country, and then you get some more time to stay and try to, your cost obviously comes down, and you stay along to see if you can get an opportunity. And also, if let's say you're in aviation, you don't see anything for the next 2 years. I mean, the market is down, you don't see people flying unnecessarily, then it might be a good idea. That's also a factor you should look at. Do you see your opportunities coming up in the near future? Because if it's an industry, especially in today's scenario, if it's an industry that is facing turmoil, maybe it would be better to go back and then come back stronger when the right time comes. It's finally a question of survival.
True, definitely.
And without getting into debt and, spoiling the rest of your life.
As Jack Ma said, this year, if we can survive, then next year we can thrive. Yeah. So the priority is to survive.
The biggest lesson we have is you have food, you have shelter, you have clothing, and your health, and your family and your loved ones have health. You're in heaven.
Wonderful.
Anything else is a bonus. Anything else is a bonus.
What a way to reframe the situation. Thank you. I should thank the panelists. They've been very active in the chat window as well. Thank you, Anson. Thank you, Balram and Agni. Can I pass the question on to Anson? You're being spotlighted, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Sangeeth. And see, my perspective is on 3 things. Number 1 is definitely on your finance. So you should have a plan for your finance, like how long you can actually pay your bills. And so rightly, Agni and Balram has already explained it well. Number 2 is on your economy. So what kind of economy you are into, industry, like for aviation and hospitality, when it is going to recover. That's number 2. Number 3 is the labor market and your skill sets. So what skill sets you have, and is that skill set required by the labor market? Certain skills are actually in Dubai, it's no more required, or it has been replaced by positions have been merged. They look for people who have got multiple skill sets. So certain skill sets probably not be required anymore in Dubai. It might be required in another labor market. So you need to go and search this information on, for example, Ministry of Education's website or Ministry of Labor, or you can even check in World Economic Forum. They regularly publish labor information, and also you can even check in ILO as well. So these skill sets are always updated. So this World Economic Forum website is one of the best classical example for this. Three things: one is economy, one is your skill set in the labor market, third is finance. So if you put in sequence, finance always come first. Based on that, you have to decide. I'll tell you something. Post-COVID situation, a lot of processes are going to be mapped into the digital space. So are you a person who has got enough right skilling on the digital capabilities? Do you have those digital literacy to survive? That's very important, because people are looking forward for candidates who can do multiple things and getting more done with lesser pay. And there is a downside on the salary part as well. So can you survive on based on that salary thing? That's number one. Number two is that your skill sets, is it a match for the job requirements? If you're, what is the time period for your right skilling? These all are things which factors will play into your decision. I would say never give up on your job search. You should always search for your job, but you should change your place. That means change your labor market, change your area, stay in the game, because the game is always going to be infinite. And the key factor is to progress, push for progress, not for winning. And don't expect that to happen next day. It will definitely happen, but you should right skill yourself and keep on reading the JD, do the qualification, do the courses, right skill, network with people, make yourself visible, and one day you definitely land in the job. And that for sure, because remember, Edison has even tried hairline, for even for the bulb
For the
filament.
filament, yeah.
Filament. Then he got succeeded. So definitely you land up. And as a bird, you should never trust on the tree which you sit. You should always trust on your wings. Give more power to your wings.
Thank you, brother. Thanks a lot. Very inspiring. A couple of questions posed. One is how to prepare a good CV. Ashraf, I think there's nothing like a good CV. It all depends on the job description that is posted. Yeah. So you'll have to leave the frills out. So it's not about colors. It's not about the photographs in there. It's about content. So read the job description. Look at the keywords that they're looking for. Okay. Probably they would have talked about software applications, certain streams of tasks that you'll be required to do, and make sure that your CV is very rich in those aspects. Tilu has posed a challenging question. He says, what if AI is doing the screening? AI is doing the screening. In fact, I even attended an AI-based interview. I attended an auto-proctored assessment. So sometimes, I've done this before. When an assessment is sent to me, a psychometric, an aptitude test is sent to me. I had Jahan sitting next to me. I don't endorse this, but this was during Ramadan, and I wasn't thinking very fast. So I got some help to do the assessments. But the next time it was proctored. So the camera was on, and they were even monitoring. The robot was monitoring as to whether I was doing it individually or getting help. So AI is used in screening applications, definitely. Yeah, but then we need to go past the AI engine and make sure that our CV reaches human hands, and that's where we can really make a good impression. So people have been asking, any chances of getting the recording? Yes, the YouTube live, which is there for all those who've registered, we'll be sending the link on as well. I think two great friends are there in the audience today. Levent, would you want to say anything? We face these challenges together. We're fighting together. Anything that you would like to add, Levent?
Thank you all. Actually, great insights. Thank you very much, Anson, Agni, and then Balram. Nice to hear you also. I am also in the same situation. I left my organization two months ago. And what I did actually, as Anson mentioned, I used different techniques, different approaches. So I updated my CV, LinkedIn, okay. I changed my profile. I update my, cover letter to each role. It is important. And my main focus was networking. I tried to reach out my network groups, first level network, second level network, and I like a follow up. Let's say if I apply a role, I check the company details, I check who is the head of HR or recruiter at, I try to reach out to them, I try to contact with them, I try to have a connection with them later, maybe I have some discussions. Until now, I had many conversations with some recruiters. It worked well. So it's good to reach out to people, because if you just apply, you will be one of the like 5,000 people. But if you have some connection to their channels or managers or hiring or recruiter, you have more chance. I think it's good. And also I ask people to have some chat, just to understand the market. I just changed the country. I was in the UAE, then I decided to leave the country, join my family. But I'm using this approach. So I'm trying to reach out to people, use my network and family network or friends network or friends network. So different channels I use it. I have progress. I meet with lots of people, and then I hope I will have some opportunities also. But at the same time, I develop myself. I'm accrediting myself in some digital skills. I'm completing some programs. I'm learning something new differently. I will be ready for the multi-skill, or multifunctional roles. I know in my situation, I'm in a challenging environment, different culture, different countries. So I'm learning their culture. I'm learning their systems even. So we need to progress. We need to learn, update ourselves. Otherwise, we cannot survive, I think. These are some things that I can share. But thank
Thank
you.
you.
Great,
Thank you,
great
Levin. Thanks a
insights.
lot.
Thank you.
It's a
Bye-bye.
pleasure. Somebody has asked a question: is LinkedIn Premium worth it? Let me tell you, it's my perspective. It's definitely worth it. Couple of things. One is normally, if you're not connected, let's say Agni and I, if I'm not connected with Agni, it's very tough for me to reach out to her. I cannot send a message directly to her. Okay, and if she chooses to ignore my connection request, there's no way I can send my message across. But if you have LinkedIn Premium, well, there's a price to pay, I believe 90 dirhams or something. But then I get up to 15 in-mail credits. I'm not quite sure about the number, but I can reach out to someone who's not connected with me. So that's precious. That's really precious. And you can also you get better insights on who has watched your profile. So I get notifications saying that, somebody from this particular recruitment company has has looked at your profile. So then immediately the next day I can reach out to them. So it's definitely worthwhile. And LinkedIn Learning is also a part of it. You get access to thousands
Can
of
I
courses.
add something?
Sure.
LinkedIn Premium, as a recruiter, I do use LinkedIn extensively. Actually, you don't need it in the sense, I'll tell you why. There is a search called, you can do a Boolean search outside LinkedIn on using Google, and they do not block that. If you're searching within LinkedIn, they block you based on your connections. You can see your first level of connections, second level, and third level. Beyond that, you cannot. If you search outside, they cannot block that. I mean, if you just go how to do a Boolean search, the step-by-step process, you can locate the recruiter using in-mails are very limited. They only give you about 15. Using Anson steps, you can pull out this email and email them directly. So I mean, there are other advantages coming, but it's not really necessary. You can work without, because I subscribed to LinkedIn Recruiter for about 6 months. Now I've not been using it. There is no limitations. I'm able to do as good a job without it as with it. So it's not essential. You can search LinkedIn from outside. They cannot screen you there. Like you need to know who's the head of HR of, say, a particular firm. Search from outside using Google. You will get to that person's page. Then you've got Anson's tricks to get them to have coffee with you. So you're fine.
Finally, we have to reach you with a cup of coffee. That's the whole
exactly.
objective. Thank you.
I won't object to anything stronger as well, but that's fine.
Just to add on to what Balram and Sangeeth has said, see,
sure.
on Google, if you want to, for example, if you want to search for Sangeeth, you can just go and put Sangeeth plus Ibrahim plus leadership development. It will pull his profile straight away. It will show his LinkedIn, and the next one would be his website, and third one would be Zoom info, something of that sort. So it will even if it will also show you even his phone number. That's the kind of database system has got. But just to again touch upon what Sangeeth has said, if he can afford, it's nothing wrong. So 169 dirhams is per month, I think you have to pay. I had that earlier. So if you can afford that thing, the best part is that you will easily reach out to a recruiter. But if depends upon the kind of salary package you look like, so you have, and also the kind of profile you're looking forward for, this is worthy to have that thing. Otherwise, I won't suggest that, just to get a job, don't go for LinkedIn Premium.
Sure. Thank you, Anson. Thanks a lot. We have people prompting us to refer to the Padlet page. where they've posted questions. We'll definitely do that. We have another 15 minutes to go. But then, Maria, are you in the audience? Would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here.
wonderful.
I won't put my video on because I'm catching a little bit of a cold, and so I'm kind of resting a little bit. But
Okay.
just to say, I don't have much to add because there's been so much fantastic information already, and I loved the different angles coming from Balram, from Anson, from Agni, and of course yourself, Sangeeth. And I would just add that I think we, and Balram already said this, we need to be very, very intentional about who we send our CVs to, because we're not going to get selected if our CV does not.
So any recruiters is Friday scheduling
me.
interview?
I'm sorry. Could you just hold on for a second?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. No, that was to the other gentleman. Maria, please go on. Yeah.
Yes. And so what it does is it clogs up the system for the recruiters, as Balram said. So I have a sort of an A, B, and C priority. For the C's, it's like the ones that I would like to apply to, but I know I'm not going to get selected. So I just cut those out completely. And for the A's and the A's are right industry and perfect profile as well. And so I really put a lot of effort into getting hold of somebody within the company and, just anything I can do to increase my chances of getting my CV seen. And I'll spend much more time on those A priority ones. And on the B priorities, depending on the time that I have, I might not put in so much effort, but I'll still send it off anyway. And as I said, for the C's, it's like a really good discipline to not spoil the chances for other people and not waste your own time.
True. Definitely. Thank you, Maria. Thanks a lot for joining us. Yeah, and let's keep in touch. The gentleman had a question. He said he gets calls from recruiters who have scheduled interviews on Fridays. So his question is that a scam? Is that a hoax? Or do recruiters really keep interviews on Friday? So Balram, would you want to enlighten us?
It very much depends. I mean, if you're on a tight schedule and you need to deliver, and also it may be because they find that people are free on Fridays and the recruiter's working overtime. I don't see any reason why it should be a problem for the candidate, especially if he's looking out seriously. I mean, probably, and if he's working and looking out, it would be lovely for him because that day is off.
True.
In fact, when we interview people from other countries, we do schedule it on a Sunday. That works out very well because they're off and we are working.
So you don't mind a coffee on Fridays as well.
True.
With your permission, let me just share the screen here, and then so that we might not be able to handle all the questions, but the key ones. Is executive summary same as the personal profile on the CV? What exactly should be highlighted in the executive summary? I think that's a beautiful question because you've got 2 to 3 pages of content on your CV and you have a small box with 1 or 2 paragraphs, right? So what should go into the executive summary? So the question is open to all panelists.
Let me answer that. So first of all, honestly, I don't get the difference between executive summary and personal profile on CV, because ideally on a CV, you should have an executive summary of your career. On a biodata, usually you have a personal profiling, but otherwise on your CV, it should be a very specific what kind of career summary you have got, what are the industries you work with. That's what I prefer, especially if somebody is in a senior role or a mid-management role. As an in-house recruiter, I prefer somebody to give me the executive summary. And that can be also used on a cover-up letter, but on a bullet point basis. That's my perception.
Sure. Thank you, Anson. Balram, would you want to add anything to that?
Definitely. See, in this context, what Anson said is absolutely right, because especially in today's context of so many profiles coming in, what we are saying is, depending on the JD, you know what the recruiter is looking for to screen. So explain your experience in, like Anson
so we are going to Friday interview.
Ashraf, just wait for a while.
Right. So just highlight, like for example, if a job a description calls for 10 to 15 years in a specific role set, you can mention your experience there in a bullet point. You can mention the skill sets that are asked for. Actually, you are selling, you're marketing. If you have a 15-second spot on TV to market your brand or your product, that's what you're doing. Because as a recruiter, what I would do is, if I see that and I see he's apt, I won't even go through the rest of the CV at that stage. I'll just shortlist him, put him aside, and go to the next. So you're helping the recruiter select you. He doesn't have to struggle through the entire CV to pick out points. So that would help a lot, and it would also separate you from the rest, because he just has to spend around 10 seconds to just make out.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Balram. Brother Ashraf, I think we answered your question. As long as we are looking out for job opportunities, be it on a Friday, be it at the middle of the night, I think we shouldn't lose the chance to attend an interview. So it's absolutely normal for recruiters to schedule interviews on Fridays. Normally, they should check with you. Okay, they should check with you and make sure it's convenient for you. But today, when the market is quite challenging, I think it's okay to schedule it on Friday. And I think we should jump at the opportunity.
And use your judgment about who's calling you and where. Please use your discretion there. And if possible, check up on the company or the person who's calling and find out if he's genuine.
True, definitely. Thank you. Hope we answered your question. Very interesting question. The person who's asked the question has Anson in his in his targets. Will hunting out emails of heads of departments be effective, or would that be considered stalkerish, as if you're trying to stalk somebody? So what do you think?
It's an interesting question. So it's like, okay, you are thirsty. You're thirsty and you like to drink water. Would you prefer to run and get the water, thinking, or would you like to prefer to walk, thinking that water is this thing? Definitely, you will run and get the water. So here, you are definitely in need. There is nothing wrong. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what if it works out?
True.
Definitely. It will go through. So there is nothing called stalkerish, because you are in requirement, and after all, you're appreciating the person. You're telling him, hey, you got 10 years of experience. That's absolutely good. And you're offering him a cup of coffee.
Yeah, true. As long as you don't spam him, continuously bombarding his inbox with emails, I think it's perfectly okay to do that.
Sorry. No, I've got a gentleman who sends me a mail, his CV every day morning.
The same CV.
Yes, same CV, same gentleman. I've replied to him once saying, please follow my posts for the opening every day on the dot. I think he's sending it to a lot of people, but I get it every day in the morning.
Wonderful. 3 questions about, strategies for freshers. I don't know whether we have time to handle that, because today we're particularly focusing on people who've lost jobs. But if there is time, and if any of the panelists would like to take it, would love to hear from you.
I'd like to take it.
Sure.
If there is a fresher with no experience, try to get an internship. I know companies are open to internships in this region, and the advantage is that the candidate gets some experience. Will it be a full-blown position? No, but at least they get almost like a short introduction to what the company is, and see, is this really what I'm looking for? And what companies also use internships for is to see if this person is really good in participating in this internship, we are going to give them a full-time job. Now, the disadvantage with internships is that not every company has a paid internship, so they may be working for free. And given the climate at the moment, it's a question whether somebody can afford that. But I'd also look into what other skills does the fresher have, because just because you may not have work experience, you will have gained some knowledge through the course. You will have team working, for example. You may not send, like Balram mentioned, that one candidate who sends that email every day, but you will have some tenacity. So it's the question, what skills do you bring to the table, and how can they be transferable? Balram?
In fact, I have people complaining that because they have experience, they're not getting jobs, and the lesser experienced people are getting jobs in today's market. So I guess it's a question of which end you're looking from. I feel there's still a strong market for freshers, because one, in the current scenario, they would come in at a fairly low salary level, which is what companies are looking for. And number two, obviously it depends on their skill sets and aptitude. I mean, I'm not into recruiting freshers, so I'm not fully qualified. It's just based on my impressions of the market. And like Agni mentioned, internship is a pretty powerful path to get inside and proving yourself, so that they would be more likely to absorb you in the long run.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to that point. I have picked up freshers, but again, it depends upon the strategy as a fresher, what strategy you're putting through. So find out what is your research, by the way. So have you gone and created a research document which has got listing all the companies which runs management trainee or graduate trainee programs? There are multiple companies like Henkel runs one, Landmark Groups runs one, Bosch runs, Schneider Electric runs one. So find out those companies from LinkedIn which has got a management trainee program in place and reach out to those companies. That's number one. Every June, July time, you will find LinkedIn for the management trainee programs. Apply to those management trainee programs. That is very important. So are you applying for a management trainee program, or are you applying for a job which is specifically saying that 2 years or 5 years of experience? So that is very important. So what if you are a fresher, reach out to companies that takes internships, number one. Through an internship, you can move to a PP or pre-placement offer. Or number two strategy is that you can actually find out the companies which offers management trainee or graduate trainee, reach out to them and you can do that. That is number two. And there's a third one, which we call it as recommendation. If you got somebody who is actually working in some company, they got a junior post, then definitely you can try your luck through recommendation or referral. So your strategy, your positioning really matters. But if you're going to compete with somebody who, for a position which requires 5 years of experience, then definitely you won't get a response.
Wonderful.
So something, if I can quickly follow up on what Anson said. A lot of universities have career placement officers or career placement departments. So also go back to the university and ask them for what kind of companies they've worked with in the past. And to see what kind of connections they have so that you can leverage that network.
Lovely. A lot of impactful answers for the new joiners. We had 3 questions from them, but I think we've answered you all. Let me quickly take these 2 questions. Number 1, someone says, I heard the government has automatically extended visas affected by COVID after March 1st until December 2020. As of now, yes, but these are for visas which have expired after March 1st. So in case your visa has expired, okay, let's say on the 1st of June, yes, it's valid till end of December. But then if your company has chosen to cancel your visa, then the visa stands cancelled. Then, it won't be extended till end of December. Someone has asked the question, can you stay on your existing company's visa and work for someone else? UAE law is very clear as long as...
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Sorry. So this is where you need to be very careful what your company does and which area it works in. Is it a mainland company that falls under the regulations of MORI, the Ministry of Human Resources and Amortization, or are you in a free zone like JAFSA or TCOM? And what the MORI companies have done is that there are possibilities if you are being terminated because of COVID, and that's where you have to be very careful and potentially contact MORI. I'm going to put in the chat their free phone number to find out if you have been terminated because of COVID-19, then you could work for another company. It's a very specific time frame that it only applies if you're in a free zone, if you're in Jebel Ali, if you are in Ras Al Khaimah, you may not be eligible to apply for that second job. So I'm going to post now the number of MORI, and what I would suggest, because it's so specific, to always ring them. They are free of charge. They speak multiple languages. If you don't feel comfortable discussing it in English or Arabic, to have your specific contract discussed there.
Wonderful.
Sorry, Sangeeth, for
No, not at all. Valuable information. Thank you, Agni. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 9:29. So I think I would like to sign off, of course, by thanking all of you for attending and enriching the session with your questions. Would like to thank my fellow comrades, Agni, Anson, and Balram, for sparing their valuable time and sharing their very, very, very useful information. And of course, for Levent and Maria for coming in as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we had 240 odd registrations, but we have probably 55 or 60 attendees. So there's a huge difference between intentions and actions. And what I really want to tell you is it is indeed challenging times. So we'll have to make sure, I'm remembering Rudyard Kipling's poem that Dad taught me. It says, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, the earth will be yours and everything in it. And what is more, you'll be a man, my son. So I think this is not the time to rest on our laurels. This is not the time to feel anxious and to slip into depression. There are things to be done, people to reach out to, CVs to be fine-tuned, LinkedIn to be, spend 2 to 3 hours on LinkedIn. When you feel bored, get up and walk around or take a quick stroll around the building. There's work to be done. I think every single day matters because days run into weeks and weeks run into months, and quickly you'll feel, oh my God, I've been out of a job for months. Yeah. So we'll have to have a strategy in place, a plan in place, use all these tools. There's an amazing quote that I personally love. It says, we didn't come this far to only come this far. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of opportunities, but nobody's going to bring this job on a platter to us. We'll have to fight for it. And that's what life is, right? Life is for struggling. Life is for, it's not a walk in the park. We need to really struggle and seize those opportunities which are there. She's not going to knock at our door. She's got a lot of doors to knock at. We'll have to go out and meet her. And for those who are comfortably placed right now, please don't be complacent, because a lot of organizations are getting into right sizing activities. So they'll look at your job and see if there is any kind of redundancy. People doing similar jobs in other departments, they might try to combine jobs. If you're a manager and if your span of control is not optimal, if you only have 1 or 2 people reporting to you, they might try to, as they say, cut the fat in the middle and try to combine positions. So challenging times. So please make sure, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as he says, don't just rely on that particular job. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, particularly someone else's basket. Try to develop your skills. That's what helped me. I started teaching in 3 universities at the same time, and thankfully that was paying the bills. Yeah. So and that adds to your self-efficacy. You really feel good. These quick wins. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all those compliments coming in the chat box. I would like to take all those compliments and pass it on to my fellow comrades, Agni, Anson, and Balram. Valuable time and inputs that you've spared here. What we'll do is we'll request each of the panelists to give us a closing statement before we wind up. But I'll be sending you all a brief feedback link. Do tell us, if we're running this session again, what would you like us to add? What would you like us to remove so that others are benefited? And I'll be sending you the video link as well. 9:33, we probably have another few more minutes. So can I start with Agni? With a huge thanks, what would you like to tell the attendees, Agni?
Thank you, Sangeeth. Never, never, ever, never, ever give up.
Thank you. Definitely never give up. Have a strategy in place. If something doesn't work here, you can shift to another place, but then never give up. Thank you. Anson.
So from the Homo sapiens, I would say human beings are wired to progress. Your competition is yourself. And remember, a bird sits on a tree, never trusts the tree which it sits on. It always have trust on its wings. So float your feathers, fly.
Thank you, Anson. Thank you. The coffee boy, Balram, what would you like to tell us?
See, the times are tough, but you have to realize that it's time to toughen up. Keep moving. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's a question of surviving or riding out a certain phase. Focus on your task, and remember that action always conquers fear. Analyze your situation, have an action plan, act on it, review and change it as required. And I'm sure you'll all come out with flying colors, and as we all will, I'm sure we'll all be thriving in a couple of months. Keep your chin up.
Definitely. I mean, let me quote that LinkedIn report that came out yesterday saying that recruitment has increased by almost threefold compared to March. So things are looking up. We have the expo coming up, and Dubai is a city which has always bounced back in style. So we'll all have our amazing plush offices to go back to. Yeah, but please don't be complacent. Okay, and don't get depressed. Action is what matters. How many versions of CVs do you have? How many people you reach out to? How many recruiters you call every single day? Be like that person who sends a CV to Balram every day. Yeah, that's grit and determination, I would say. Ladies and gentlemen, from the bottom of the heart, as a person who has gone through this, what kept me going? I had a very senior, responsible position, but sometimes, and I got a performance bonus every year. Even this year, I got it. Sometimes it's not just about you. It's like building a house of cards. You know, you try to build up a tower of cards. Sometimes they fall with a reason. Sometimes they fall without a reason. Yeah, so there are a lot of factors, a lot of variables out there, politics, cost cutting and stuff like that. So things can go wrong, but then it's up to us to set it right by doing the right things. So once again, huge thanks going out to Agni, Anson, and Balram. May God bless you all, comrades, for the efforts you've taken. And I hope and pray that we have inspired at least one person in the audience to do what it takes to be successful. Okay, how do you feel to the guy? Irritated, or will you give a chance? That's Spice. This is to the guy who keeps sending you CVs.
No. I mean, I don't get irritated. It's amusing, in fact, and I feel sorry for the guy because I'd already responded to him in detail with a personal mail. So I understand that he's probably got a list of addresses he's sending to every day, and if the right opening comes, obviously, but I'm not going to be replying to him every day. That's for sure.
But definitely he gets your mind share.
Very much.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, try some nice breathing exercises. Exercising, they release endorphins in your body. So don't just sit there. Don't be. You need to be mobile. So spend some time, at least an hour, exercising while you do your job hunt. Yeah. God bless you all. Do well. See you on the other side. Okay, where all of us are well placed. Okay, so once again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
God
Thank
bless.
you, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank
God bless. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.